Hi everyone, this is my Mythic Elisande guide video. Um, I wanted to get it out. We just killed her tonight for the first time, and there's about 2 weeks left of Nighthold, so I wanted to get this guide out now. So if anybody is still working on her and needs some tips, you'll have it before Tomb of Sargeras comes out. So first off, for gear, let's talk about gear. I ran with a versatility build. Here, that's not the gear I used. I used Augur gear. Alright, so this is the gear that I use for the fight. First off, for legendaries, I ended up using Pridaz for the shield and the stats, and I used the Cloak of Fell Flames because most of the damage intake of Mythic Elisande is magic damage. And this Cloak of Fell Flame gives you the 15% damage reduction from magic whenever you cast Immolate. It's actually kind of big. It is doable without it. I didn't use it for the longest time, but then I realized it would help a lot more if I did. Trinkets, I ended up using just a straight up versatility stat stick and a BTI. There are other options I could have went with. There really didn't seem to be a lot of physical damage, so I didn't run DMC for this. So anything that you have that would fall into just straight up all around damage reduction, unless you're trying to push out some DPS, I would use. 4-piece, I didn't even use the 4-piece because I'm not really soul cleaving very often, just when a few ads are up, and like I said, most of the damage is magic damage, so having Demon Spikes up more really wasn't that important. So I just went for item level and magic reduction. For talents, I used Razor Spikes because why not? More damage anyways when I'm spamming Fracture. I use Fallout. Burning Alive would not have been a big deal here because any ads up are not really hitting me, and if they are, they're not hitting very hard, so Fallout just for more soul fragments. I use Flame Crash because it is a bigger DPS upgrade over Failure Eruption because there are ads up that I'm on most of the time. Fracture for the single target damage and the fragment generation. Concentrated Sigils because it is more damage than Quickened. I fell dead for the damage, and I use Soul Barrier. I know a lot of other people use Last Resort, but I don't really come close to dying unless I run through rings, and if I run through rings, then yeah, it's my fault. Consumables, just same consumables as I always use, the Agility Flask, and then you use the Feast. Switch to Havoc, and then eat the Feast, so you get the Agility buff. You don't want the Stand buff, it is not needed. And for my artifact, I'm running 52 points. I have Concordance, so. Alright, so that is the setup, so let's go ahead and look at the video. Here we are. So, a little disclaimer, I am the raid leader. Me and a couple of the guys raid lead together, and this is our first kill, so this is not perfected yet. I normally show you guys videos of my second, third, or fourth kill, because that way you can see how I do it with a better understanding of when I need to use what. This is the first kill, so I parsed, I believe, in the 80th percentile, probably the 80 percentile. So this is not flawless, this is not perfection, but it should give you an idea of how to play this properly. So on the pull, everybody's against the wall, and I have a Moonkin because I have a 49-yard range. Pull first, that way she spawns farther back because we're trying to bait out the puddles away from the middle of the room. So I'll stay here and I'll wait till somebody else pulls. You pre-pot around 1, and once it's there, I pick her up, I jump in, and I open up with Firebrand, Immolate, and I try to get my soul carver off. At this point, I know a blue ad is spawning, and we have to get her over to the ad ASAP. So I open that up and I look. I see it's over there, so I leap across. I want to get there close enough to get that interrupt, and then pick up the pink ad, and then stack them all together. Once my stacks get too high, he's going to taunt Elisande off me. Right now I'm at 2 stacks, so you're looking at anywhere between 2 to 4 stacks, and then you taunt. I was at 2, he taunted. I still have both ads on me, which is fine. So we kill both the elementals. We get the blue one down first, and we have 6 seconds into the Arcanite Rain. As long as you do it with 10 seconds. Less than 10 seconds is perfect. So then I move the pink ad So it's between the blue bubble and the night well. And then you kill it. Now here's important. The easiest way to do the reins is you look to see which side she's on. So the reins haven't spawned yet, and I see that she's on the left side. So before I even see the reins, I call out we're going left. If you go the way she's standing is always easier. Now there is one caveat of this. If she spawns like right next to us, this has happened once out of like 50, 60 pulls. If she spawns right next to us, the entire range becomes this giant like mess, and it's probably gonna wipe you. But it's like one time out of 60. So I see she's on the left, so I'm calling we're going left. And the reins come out. There's the hole. We go through. Now here is the most important part. I stop and I turn. Well, it's a bad view. And I look to see how the reins are coming back to make sure I'm positioned in a way that I can just walk right through. So nice and easy. We're good. And then you bring her back to the bubble. Now I'm at 2 stacks. When his stacks falls off, he's going to taunt. There it is. And I'm just going to DPS. Now I make a mistake here. I'm doing a lot of calls right now. I should step back into this bubble because the buff fell off. And I wasn't paying attention. I'm watching the raid. And at this point, you're supposed to walk back into the pink bubble to get the buff. I did not. So that was a mistake. Once my debuff falls off, I taunt. He has 2 stacks, I believe. And you just DPS her. When his stack falls off, he taunts. And then again, I look. She's on the left-hand side. So when I call left or right, it's basically the way. Alright, so you see what side she's on. And then we stop here. So while looking at the bubble, she's on the left side, so I call left. I also want to take note that we do not stick any of the tanks on the blue ads. The range interrupts deal with the ad damage, and we just make sure our healer's always healing them. So I said we go left, and there's the big hole. We walk through it. We turn. We look at the reins coming back. Nice and easy. Now take note that these reins here are really slow, so don't bring her that way until they're out of the way. And she's going to jump back again. I see she's on the right-hand side, so I call right. And then opening to the right, nice and easy, and then turn and look at the reins. So at this point, I see that she's at 17%. If you have enough DPS, this is where you should bring her to the wall. Make sure that pink ad does not kill anybody in previous attempts, like 20 attempts in. The ad would sometimes kill people, so pick it up. You're not killing it. So after the 3rd reign, if your DPS is good enough, you bring her to the wall. So everybody goes to the wall and you push her to 10%. So at 10%, we spread out against the wall, so we want to bait her back to the wall for the next puddle. And somebody likes gnomes. So there it is. And then he has the initial threat. Now, here's a little tricky. We have to get to the blue ad, but we also have to pick up the pink ad. So he has threat. But I know he's going to get the ablation explosion in 3 seconds, and he's going to have to get out of the raid. So I cannot taunt either of the ads, because I need that taunt in 3 seconds. So I run over, I pick up this initial ad, I interrupt it, and then I see what the pink ad is. So I'm away to get the pink ad. I taunt Elisande so he can get out of the raid, and then I just manually pick up the pink ad. And then I stack them back together. Now, right here I also see that the orb is falling in melee. What I do on most attempts and in phase 3, I stack up and just absorb it so nobody else has to. It's not a big deal if I eat it. So we kill the blue ad just like before, and then we're going to position the pink ad in between the blue bubble and the night well. So I get the debuff, and by the way, the first phase, it was left, left, right. So every other phase after that is always going to be left, left, right, because you can't look to see where she is, because it's really hard to notice, because there's going to be a lot of different copies of her. So the first phase I knew was left, left, right. So from every phase forward, I'm just going to call out without even looking left, left, and then right. So I have 2 seconds left at an explosion. I yell at the group to not go to the wall, and then I leap out because he already taunted. People come out anyway, so I hit a couple. Check for the holes on the rebound. Watch that floating slow orb. Then tanker at the pink bubble. Now here I know Ablation is coming at the same time as the Furic beam. So the key part here is you need a taunt as soon as it goes out, because if the off tank starts to move with the debuff and she's casting her beams, those beams are going to go crazy. So I'm waiting for the taunt. I know it's coming. There it is. I taunt right away so you can get right out. Now these beams get a little wacky because people are running to buff up instead of just dealing with the beams. So right, that positioning there is good for the beams, except they just keep running. And that wasn't too bad. But right there you can see the beams are not how we want them, because they're obsessed with getting the buff. So you pick up the pink ad, and then we have a left and then a right with the rinse. So I got Ablation. I have to get out. He taunts. Explodes. I need to get back in. And then it's going to be a right. Alright, so he gets Ablation. I taunt off him. And then we just bring it back to the pink bubble once that gets out of the way. So we have our second orbs dropping. I called out that I'm going to eat this one so nobody else has to. And now we're looking to push her. So there's no more rains, and we do not want any more orbs dropping. So we're at 23%. I call pulling her to the wall. Well, not yet. After Ablation, we're going to pull her to the wall. The off tank, for some reason, was running towards the blue ad here, and I'm not sure why he was doing it, so I taunted off of him when she started to run the wrong way. Yeah, I don't know why he was heading that way, but it didn't matter. So phase 3, we get to the wall and we bait the last puddle. Now phase 3 is a joke for tanks. Like phase 1 and 2 is kind of crappy, but phase 3 is really easy. So how this works is there are no tank switches in phase 3. We don't need to. So I do more damage than he does, so I'm always on the boss. He's going to go face tank the blue ads. That way the range DPS no longer takes damage, besides maybe the blast. So she's here, I pick her up, and we tank her on top of the elementals. You want to interrupt both the pink ad and Elisande herself. So I pick up all 3 ads, group them up like every other phase. Bubble's falling, so I said I was going to eat this one as well. Getting the slow debuff wasn't that big of a deal. Not yet. Okay. So we want to kill the pink ad. That's why I stayed a little bit longer than I wanted to, because I wanted the pink ad dead there. Now look, here's why I made a big mistake. I was only in phase 3 like 7 times so far, and it was a mess. I didn't realize tanks can get Conflexive Burst. I don't know how I've overlooked that, but I did. So right now, what you want to do for Conflexive, and this is what got us to kill, is all 3 people go into Conflexive. Or, I'm sorry, into the blue bubble. Because you want to extend Conflexive, and then you pick one person at a time to run into the pink bubble. So they all detonate at different times. So after the first one detonates, number 2 runs into the pink bubble to speed it up to detonate it. Well, I didn't realize I could get Conflexive Burst. And at this point, I need to jump in blue. But I didn't know I got Conflexive Burst. So I pick up the boss and I keep fighting like I normally do. I'm not paying attention to my debuff. And I go into pink, which is the exact opposite of what I should have done. So at this point, I'm sitting here, and they're calling my name out to go next. And I realize I have 5 seconds left. And I even have to, I think I mouse over the debuff right there. Yeah. I was like, I realized I had the debuff, and I shouldn't have. And this almost caused a wipe. So I, at last second, jumped into the blue, so I had a little bit more time to react. And then, at this point, what should have happened is the bear should have came back, taunted off me to explode outside the raid. But I had 3 seconds left. I didn't have time to call anything out. So I go in the slow, and I jump out as far as I can before it explodes. Because there is fall off damage. The farther you are away from the group, less damage they take. And I know this. If I blow up in the raid, I kill everybody. Instead, I only killed like 3 people. So I leap out as far as I can, I explode, and then I go back to the group.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So that almost caused the wipe, and that was my fault. This is rain number 2. We're killing the pink out of position because of the orbs. That could not have been helped. This is rain number 3. So I pick up the pink ad, go back out. Now at this point, the pink ad should just die because it's just a buff you can pick up. We have orbs and beams coming. Alright, so this is the last orb, and I'm in melee. It's falling in melee, so I volunteered to take it because it's just safer if I take it. And once these orbs fall and the beams finish, you're going to have 3 conflexives. I think we've had 2 already. And it's a straight tank and spank at this point. We even lost 5 people. So we just stay here and we just DPS, get the pink ad down, try to interrupt them as much as you can, and then just DPS the boss. And we have a minute to berserk to do the last 430 million damage. You're going to get 1 more conflexive at the end, and the 3rd conflexive, and for this you just stick all 3 people in the slow bubble because either you're going to kill her or she's going to enrage before they explode. And surprisingly, we only get 1 conflexive. I don't know why, because we had 4 people dead. So tank and spank. Like once you're done with the rains and done with the orbs, it's easy. This is why you want to bloodlust in phase 1. The quicker you get out of phase 1, easier phase 2 and phase 3 is, and the quicker you get out of phase 2, easier phase 3 is. So that is the Mythic Elisande kill. I really hope it helps somebody who's still working on it, because like I said, we're a little late with a god due to unforeseen circumstances. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment. If you liked the video, if it helped you, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe. Thank you for watching.